Hello and welcome to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stefan, your host, British by birth, American by choice. The Founding Fathers crafted some remarkable documents that led to the creation of a great country founded on liberty and self-reliance. I have lived in the Euro-socialist nightmare, and I'm doing what I can to return this country to the vision that the Founding Fathers gave us. We need to strive to rebuild that shining city on the hill, for without us, the world has nowhere to turn for freedom. For the next hour, I will be presenting news, views, and guests that help keep the true spirit of America alive. And good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever you're listening to the show. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, welcoming you to episode 327 of Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. Wonderful to be here, wonderful to have you listening, whether it's live, whether it's to the archived recordings, whether it's to one of the rebroadcasts on the many channels now, and that includes, of course, 1075 Talk 1075 in Florida, Jasper, Florida, but also Red Nation Rising, that excellent new internet network with two channels, pumping out lots of good conservative and libertarian messages. Red State Talk Radio is still there. The 405 Media, streaming talk radio, all over the place. And if you want to know where else you can catch the show, go to www.patrickcomelately.us, click on the syndication page. I've got a full list of all of the different channels that are now broadcasting with links to their site, so you can check the schedule as well. Well, a lot to talk about this evening, as we do, it seems, every week. Some of the things that I thought I'd be talking about have kind of disappeared, but there are a few things from a while back that I do want to bring up again and give a little bit of my own analysis to. But I think the big thing, of course, is what happened a few days ago in Dallas, where a crazy nutcase, a racist nutcase, killed 5 of our Protect and Serve men in blue. Very, very sad. Injured a lot of them as well. Just unbelievable that something like that could happen. And of course the regressives are not too happy about it, because it was a black person who was wanting to kill white people. And of course that narrative is not supposed to happen, because it's supposed to be all the other way around. And of course there's lots of figures going backwards and forwards about statistics, this, that, the other, and as someone said, there's lies, damn lies, and then there's statistics. But I think one thing is very clear from all the analysis. While there are issues about some racism in police forces, amongst law enforcement officers, it is a very small percentage, and I don't think any of the statistics actually show that there is a systemic bias against blacks, other than, and we have to be very honest about it, that compared to the general population, the incidence of crime in black minorities is significantly higher than amongst whites. This means that the police probably feel a little more likely to either stop a black person, but also, if a black person is stopped, to be a little twitchy, because they know so many blacks do carry illegal weapons, sometimes legal weapons, but use them a lot more than other people do. And so I'm sure that some of these cases that have occurred were not justified, and we need to make sure that the procedures for the police are sorted out, and it doesn't need to be done at a federal level, as Hitler, or Hitlery, I should say, becoming such a fascist. Hitler wants to do it at the federal level. I think local police departments need to set their own rules, but those rules do need to be set. And in lots of cases, a lot of the places already have them. So it's also a question of making sure that they're applied properly. Of course, there is one thing I feel that is very important, and I just want to give a reminder, because at the end of the line, the police are not getting the respect that they should, especially from the left. And one thing we have to remember is as follows.
This is Jeff Carlisi from the Band 38 Special. Let us never forget that police lives matter.
Very true, right? Police lives do matter. All lives matter. And I think that discussion, thank goodness, is becoming more and more open, that people are saying no. To say Black Lives Matter is actually racist. And you see some of the people on the TV being interviewed. It is unbelievable. Now, I know the other day Newt was on a program and said, hey folks, we can't imagine what it's like to be black. And I think you're right. We can't. And it is difficult. But they don't make it any easier on themselves. And the sooner we can bring back normal behavior from those people, the sooner things will get better for them. Okay, folks, as we talk about Blue Lives Matter and what happened in Dallas, I think one thing we should remember: the blood is on the hands of him where the buck stops, or is supposed to stop, because of the divisiveness that he has sown in his, to date, 7 years of regime. Now, it's supposed to be, his desk's supposed to be where the buck stops, but he actually does his best to avoid the buck as much as possible. It's always someone else's fault. And another way he avoids the buck is by letting his family spend our taxpayer bucks, left, right, and center. Right? Muchel just came back from, I think, another $1 million vacation to Morocco with her family. Just unbelievable how they spending money as if it was going out of fashion. Okay, let's get on with the show. Looks very quiet in the chat room tonight. I don't see anybody there. Oh, Rex is there. Hi, Rex. Spreaker didn't give me a little indication that there was text in there. So welcome, Rex. We'll see who else joins us, and I'm going to go to the next topic. Moving along here, of course, tonight, I think it was yesterday or today, interview of Jeb Bush. The loser speaks is what I call this, and Jeb Bush was talking about Trump. And basically he said because of Trump, conservatism is dead, and he couldn't possibly vote for Hillary, but he can also not vote for Trump. Well, actually, I agree with Jeb on one point. Conservatism is dead. Traditional conservatism, the way it was presented by the Washington elites, is dead. But I don't agree with him that it's Trump's fault. The reason that Trump has risen is because that traditional conservatism was killed by the Bush clan. Want some examples? How about read my lips, no new taxes, that came from George H.W. Bush. and under which president was TARP introduced? That would be George W. Bush. And finally, who lied to the GOP when he signed a declaration that he would support the nominee and now is refusing to do so? And isn't lying against conservative principles? That would be Jeb himself. So, Bush clan, thank you for killing conservatism. And while we're talking about that, there was a nice piece that I found about the Never Trumpers. And this was directed at them. And it was called "To Those Who Still Cannot Bring Themselves to Vote for Trump." And this is for those of them that say they won't vote because the eventual nominee is not the person they wanted. Well, that is their prerogative, right? Voting is a right we have, but not a right that we must do. If you don't do it, though, remember, by not voting for your candidate is the equivalent of giving a vote to the person on the other side. So this commentator said they wanted to put some things into perspective, given that not voting is a prerogative people have, but they wanted to put things into perspective, and I think this really does say a lot about everything. Justice Scalia's seat is still vacant. Ginsburg is 82 years old. We're going to come back to Batty Ginsburg. Kennedy is 79. Breyer is 77. Justice Thomas is only 67, but he's talking about retiring. They all should, right? They're over 65, or 66 is the new retirement age. But anyway, so that's four that could retire or die in the coming presidential 4 years. So that could be five, because Scalia is there as well. So there's 5 that could come up in the next 4 to 8 years. So the next president could potentially create a 7-2 Supreme Court skewed in their ideology. Think about that, 7-2. And if the next president appoints 5 young justices, it will guarantee control of the Supreme Court for an entire generation. And look what Obama did, right? Sotomayor, not that old. So, and remember, 7-2 decisions will hold up much more over time than 5-4 decisions, which are viewed as lacking in mandate. Think about that, folks. Now, Hillier has made it clear that she will use the Supreme Court to go after the Second Amendment. And if you don't believe me, I think I may have played this in an earlier show, but it bears playing again. Here it comes.
So I'm going to speak out. I'm going to do everything I can to rally people against this pernicious, corrupting influence of the NRA. And we're going to do whatever we can. I was proud when my husband took them out, and we were able to ban assault weapons, but he had to put a sunset on. So 10 years later, of course, Bush wouldn't agree to reinstate them. We've got to go after this. And here again, the Supreme Court is wrong on the Second Amendment. And I am going to make that case every chance I get. So I will need your help on that.
So frightening, isn't that? Remember, this was a secret recording that wasn't supposed to be made. She didn't want this being made public. But this is exactly the way Hillier thinks. Anyway, folks, I see that we're coming to time for our first commercial break. So, folks, bear with me. I will be back.
You can lose 10, 20, 30 pounds or more with Maximum Slim's first ever rapid weight loss guarantee. Today, you get Maximum Slim, an advanced fat and carb blocker, absolutely risk-free. The all-natural ingredients in Maximum Slim are a powerful weight loss combination. The Maximum Slim formula turns your body into a fat-burning furnace that supercharges your weight loss. Advanced fat and carb blocker stops the breakdown of sugar so your body doesn't store it as fat. Today, you'll get both of these products absolutely risk-free with no obligation. Only pay shipping. There are no expensive meal plans or exhausting DVDs. Just take Maximum Slim twice a day. It's fast, simple, and now it's guaranteed. Look, you can start losing weight today or not. Go back to your high school days and wear your favorite jeans again. Guaranteed. Call now and get both weight loss formulas free. Call 800-451-0228. 800-451-0228. That's 800-451-0228.
Doc, you gotta give it to me straight.
All right.
'Cause I'm dying here. I mean, take a look at this letter from the IRS.
Oh, my.
This is killing me, Doc. I tell you, it's killing me.
Cheer up, my friend.
Huh?
The tax doctor is here. My diagnosis tells me that you're going to be just fine.
Really?
The tax doctor will not rest until we find you the best possible tax settlement.
Really, Doc?
Guaranteed.
If the IRS claims you owe them $10,000 or more in business or personal back taxes, call a tax doctor right now. We could save you up to 75% if you qualify. Guaranteed or you pay nothing. Call right now for free details.
800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. That's 800-917-8546.
Do you have pain from arthritis in your knees? It's no wonder. Osteoarthritis affects 1 in 2 adults. That's 50% of us in our lifetime will suffer from arthritis knee pain. If you're covered by Medicare or within 90 days of turning 65, we can help relieve your knee pain. Call right now and see how you can get a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. 800-296-1257. 800-296-1257. At the Health Alert Hotline, we have consultants ready to help you learn how an easy-to-wear knee brace can help stop the pain so you can be active again. And after we work with Medicare to get you approved, you can get our high-quality pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Call the Health Alert Hotline right now for free shipping and to learn more. 800-296-1257. 800-296-1257. That's 800-296-1257.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
And folks, thanks for back from those messages. By the way, I've just been reminded I do need to update those little interludes there with the kind of the station ID things. Now so many different channels that are syndicating my show. But I'll get round to that. I've got a busy week. Next 10 days are going to be very busy, which I'll talk about perhaps towards the end of the show. But right now we were talking about those who cannot bring themselves to vote for Trump. And we talked about the 5 places on the Supreme Court that might come up in the next 4 to 8 years. Most likely will come up in the next 4 to 8 years. And so how important it is to make sure that we have a non-regressive president in there, someone who will choose good conservative Supreme Court appointees. And let's remember, Donald Trump did put forward 10, and if you're part of the Never Trump group, he put forward 10 names that most people say were excellent conservative judges to put forward for the Supreme Court. So just think about this, folks. And for those of you that are not wavering and believe in ABC, right, anyone but Clinton, and have already decided they will support the nominee, but get out and talk to your family and friends, because there will be waivers there. Tell them about the Supreme Court. Now, and remind them, right? I played that thing about the Second Amendment for Hillary. She'll definitely use the Supreme Court to do that if she gets in. And remember, if Clinton wins and makes these appointments, we'll never see a conservative victory at the Supreme Court for the rest of our lives and probably our children's lives as well. So whoever the nominee is, and we know it's going to be Trump, please go vote for the nominee. And the reminder here is, remember Romney, right? 3 million conservatives who'd voted for McCain did not cast a vote for Romney. A lot of them being evangelicals who couldn't bring themselves to vote for a Mormon. And what did that mean? It meant 4 additional years of Obama. And by the way, I don't want to cast aspersions on the evangelicals or just the evangelicals, because there were plenty of people who were fed up with the namby-pamby way, right? He started off in the first presidential debate and we thought, we've got a winner, and then he just faded, he just gave up. So there were a lot of people who saw that and decided not to vote. But remember, folks, if they'd have voted, we might not have had those second 4 years of Obama. And if that doesn't do it for you, one final thing. Remember, this is something that Hillary has said, and it's been noted, it's been recorded, but I just want to remind folks about it. She said that her buddy, King Barry, would make a great Supreme Court justice. Well, if that doesn't prove she has no judgment, I don't know what doesn't. But just remember that. Would make a great Supreme Court justice. King Barry would make a great Supreme Court justice. If that doesn't scare you, I don't know what will. And if that doesn't scare other people, I don't know what will. So get that message out and tell everybody. Okay, what's next? Well, I think time for another topic. And I'm just going to talk about just a quick one here, the 2 faces of liberals, right? We know all liberals have 2 faces, but just want to prove it again. And this, again, kind of ties into to what's been going on over this last week. This is more some of the things that happened before the tragedy in Dallas, but regressives are always telling us, don't blame all Muslims for the actions of a few, which, sounds sort of reasonable. But then, why don't they say, don't blame gun owners for the actions of a few? You'll never hear them say that. And how about, don't blame all police officers for the actions of the very, very, very few. Right? But you'll never hear them say that. It's black or white with them, right? Muslims are good, police officers are bad, and that's the way it's going to go, which is just disgusting. And of course, over the last 10 days, in the last show, we touched on Comey and what he'd been saying. Of course, he was called onto the carpet and basically said nothing when he testified to the House, and then they also called Lynch onto the carpet to testify at a tense House hearing, and asked her questions, and basically she just refused to answer. It's, sounds like what we heard that Huma Abedin and Cheryl Mills had been doing, kind of for every question I can't remember. Brian Pagliano, I plead the fifth. I think he pleaded the fifth 125 times, which I don't understand, because I thought he'd been given immunity. So how can he plead the fifth if he's been given immunity? So that sounds really strange, but obviously there's something to hide there. And now the AG doing the same thing, dodging questions about the FBI investigation, basically saying, well, you have to look at what Director Comey said, and I can't talk about it because I'm above that. I don't know the details, yada, 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 yada. I think she said, I would refer you to those statements, referring to James Comey's press conference. I will refer you to those statements. I think she said that 10 or more times in the whole grilling that she had. The Conservatives were very unhappy about her answers. Of course, the Regressives, the Liberals, the Democrats on the committee were grandstanding and just sort of saying, what a waste of time, what a waste of time. Not a waste of time. And one of the things that I think is not really getting enough airtime, enough discussion. So again, folks, take this out to your friends, family, acquaintances, enemies, whatever. Was a comment by one of the Democrats, and as I said, they were criticizing the Republicans for holding the hearing, and John Conyers from Michigan, he's the top Democrat on the panel. He said the criminal investigation is closed. There was no intentional wrongdoing. I want to underline that verbally, right, as we're not on TV here. There was no intentional wrongdoing. Both Comey and Lynch and Conyers are all missing the point. The statute that was being referred to, there is no intention in the statute. You either were careful with the information or you were not. And whether you did it intentionally or not, you are still liable for the consequences of your action. If you were not careful with your handling of classified material, then you were wrong. You have broken the law and you should be indicted. But of course they're not going to indict their favorite daughter. And luckily, America seems to agree with us, because 56% of the people polled recently disagreed with the FBI's recommendation not to pursue charges. Just 35% approved. 1/3 of all Democrats polled disagreed with the with the FBI decision. And this is an ABC News Washington Post poll, and those polls tend to be skewed towards Democrats as well, so that it's 56%. That doesn't bode well for her. And in other polls we've seen the effect of this. She should have had a bump from going out campaigning with King Barry, but instead of that she's seeing her lead drop, and Donald Trump across the country is now within the margin of error in almost every single state, if he's not ahead as well. Although I have to say, if he's ahead, it's also within the margin of error. Now, polls are polls, and we saw with Brexit the polls don't mean much, but we'll see. I think when they poll, there are a lot less people who are admitting that they're going to vote for Trump than they actually get. I think when the time comes in November, it's going to be very different. We'll see how next week's convention goes as well, the Republican convention. Now, let's have a look. We're coming up to the break, and after the break, I do want to just reiterate some of the key issues that came out of the FBI findings and what Comey said. Some of these I touched on last week, and you've probably heard a lot of them in the news, but again, I want to reinforce some of these particular ones because these are important, and you need to share this with other folks, please. We need to get the message out, and I rely on you, my audience, to help me do that. I can do it only to a certain amount, but if each of you can tell 10 people, we're beginning to spread the message. And if they can tell another 10 people, and those 10 people can take another 10 people, and so on, we're going to get the message out. However, for the moment, it means we're going to take a break here and get the commercial in there. I will be back shortly.
Patriot come lately. British by birth, American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
Every day, millions of Americans grow more concerned about the future of our great nation. The truth is, over the last century, a small but powerful collectivist movement known as progressivism has debased our politics, our culture, and our currency. We're just a small step from falling into 1,000 years of darkness, as Ronald Reagan warned. Friend, this is Pat Boone with an important free offer on a hot new book called The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Lowell Ponte. This new book explains how we, the people, can end this fatal detour into big government and get back on the path of faith and freedom charted by our founders. Call now for a free copy of the hot new book called The Great Withdrawal.
Call now for your free copy. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. That's 800-978-3901.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS that you can't pay? Call now for immediate help. At the Tax Relief Line, we help people just like you. If you take on the IRS alone, you could be facing levies, liens, even wage garnishments, personal or business tax issues. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call now and see if you can pay less. They can freeze your bank accounts, even garnish your wages. Call the Tax Relief Line now for immediate help. Our expert team of tax professionals will negotiate your tax problem and deal with the IRS for you. If the IRS is threatening you with levies, wage garnishments, or seizing your assets, call now and see if you can pay the IRS less.
888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043.
This is Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio, keeping the spirit of America alive, a proud member of the Red State Talk Radio Network.
And folks, welcome back. We're into the second half of the show. Time is flying, as it always seems to do when we're having fun. Just a reminder, especially because there are a number of new listeners on some of the new channels that the show is now being syndicated to. Just a reminder that if you would like to contact me and you're listening through one of the syndication channels, they are all broadcast after the fact. It's not live. So if you want to reach me, you can email me at stephan@patriotcomelately.us, or you can go to the website www.patriotcomelately.us and fill out a contact form there, and it will also reach me and send me your feedback, your comments, your questions about the show. I would just love to hear from you. And a little bit later in the show, I hope to get to a bit more from somebody that I've mentioned in the show before, who's been emailing me, and I've been emailing him back quite frequently, David in St. Louis. And he has some interesting comments about some things. But before we do that, of course, I mentioned before the break that I wanted to talk about some key issues about what we heard from Comey. So, first of all, number one, Comey said there was no basis that Clinton lied to the FBI. She may not have. Now, we don't know what what she said in her interview with the FBI, so she may not have lied to the FBI, but she certainly lied to the press and the American people, because about 1 year ago she told reporters at a press conference she was confident she never sent or received any information that was classified at the time it was sent or received. But the FBI has found at least 110 emails in 52 email chains that contained classified information when they were sent or received, infamously at the time. And 8 of those communications contained top secret information, 37 secret information. If it's just one, you've broken the law, lady. So that's number one. Now, secondly, Comey told the head of the committee, who's Jason Chaffetz of Utah, that the FBI hadn't investigated whether she lied under oath when she spoke to the House committee, because the agency never received a referral to do so from Congress. So, of course, Chaffetz confirmed that they are sending a referral to the FBI to probe her testimony. Now, that's going to be one that they might catch her on. And let's just remember, how did they finally get hold of and manage to jail Al Capone? Not for his bootlegging, but for his income tax fraud. And this could be the thing. We may not be able to get her in jail for her email scandal, but lying to Congress, right, is also an indictable offense. And if she gets indicted, she would not be able to run for the presidency. Now, she oughtn't to be able to run for it anyway, because I think she's been proven enough of a liar that in any other job she wouldn't get security clearance, but we know that I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, of course. Now, Comey said Clinton's case is very different from that involving David Petraeus, because he says it was clearly intentional conduct. He knew what he was doing was in violation of the law, and it was huge amounts of information. If you couldn't prove he knew it, it raises the inference that he did it an effort and his efforts to obstruct justice. That combination of things makes it worthy of a prosecution. Maybe a misdemeanor, not a felony, but a prosecution nonetheless. Well, as I said earlier, she knew. It's not provable, but she knew what she was doing was wrong. And he said, well, she never intended. No, right. We can't prove that. But again, the law doesn't say intention. The law says whether or not you did. And it comes down to, so is it gross negligence, or is it just messing around? Very strange. Now, talked earlier about the fact that Comey said that there was nothing to indicate Clinton had lied to the FBI, but also there's no transcript, there's no recording, and she wasn't placed under oath. So if she wanted to lie, no problem. Well, Comey says, no, if you lie to the FBI, it is still a crime to do so. But again, they'll have to prove that. But okay, we've got some occasions when she lied to Congress. So maybe we can get her on that. Comey claimed that Clinton wasn't sophisticated in her knowledge of classification systems, and also technically. Of course, that's not a good thing to be if you're going to be the president. So all of a sudden they were trying to walk that back, and then they had the temerity to suggest that Comey had actually walked that back. Well, I mean, talk about more lies, heaping lies upon lies. I mean, this just makes my blood boil. I'm trying to keep my blood pressure down, but this just makes my blood boil. They just come out and say, oh, no, he walked it back. He never did. But they just say it, and they think that we're stupid enough to believe it if they say it. Another one, and I'm surprised that the FBI wasn't all over this one. Clinton gave people without security clearances access to the classified information. She admitted that her lawyers were the ones that went through the emails to decide which ones could be deleted and which ones couldn't. Now, a lot of the time, they said they weren't reading the content, they were just reading the headers, but even so, they were given access to that. And the FBI director wasn't sure how many non-cleared people had access to that classified information. He said it was between 2 and 10. So anything more than 0, come on folks, wake up, anything more than 0 is a crime. She gave access to classified information to people who didn't have that access. And the fact that it might have been 8 or 10 or 6 doesn't make any difference to the crime. Just because she did more of it, does that make the crime any worse? No. 1 is a crime. 1 is enough to put her in the slammer. Now, Comey said the lawyers were non-cleared. Clinton's spokesman, she doesn't have a spokesperson? That doesn't sound very liberal at all. Anyway, she has a spokesman. He tweeted that the lawyers who sifted through the emails all had top secret level clearance. So Comey says 2 to 10 people who were not cleared had access, and they're saying that the lawyers who sifted through had top secret. Yeah, you see, we're getting here into this parsing. It depends on the definition of is, right? They're saying, okay, maybe the lawyers did, but there were others. The spokesman forgets to mention there were others who had that access who weren't cleared, and she gave them, and whether it was her directly, it was under her responsibility, and she should pay the price. Comey also contradicted a number of statements that Clinton had made to reporters and Congress. Like I said, she'd lied. Congress was a statement under oath. So that's perjury. Slammer time, big house time, big house instead of the White House for Clinton, right? Right? She said she never did have classified material on her, classified at the time. He said it was. He was asked whether or not she only used one device. Remember, she said, I wanted to have one device. It was easier to use. She had multiple devices. And then it turns out when Gowdy asked Comey whether or not all work-related emails had been returned to the State Department, which then printed them out and provided them to the committee, Comey said they had discovered thousands which had not been returned and were later recovered by the FBI. That's a crime. That is destruction of public records. That's a crime. I don't know why. Well, she didn't intend to, he said. It doesn't matter what her intention was. Folks, this is just so wrong, so wrong. How this stupid, bicked witch, evil bicked witch can still be in the running and have as many people ready to vote for her, right? Right now she's, let's say, 2% ahead of Donald Trump. I don't care how bad Donald Trump is. She is 100 times worse. How people can still be stupid enough to vote for her. It's just, it beggars all belief. I just don't understand how they can do that. Well, folks, we're coming up to the another break. I see here. I was going to play some music again this week, but I'm going to skip it because of the topics. But after the break, I do want to tell you about a rather nice story. Nice to have something positive that I can bring to the show for a change, and not just all these blood-boiling topics that we have to do. So just a reminder, folks, if you want to contact me, Stefan at patrickcomelately.us. That's one word, patrickcomelately.us. And folks, I will be back after these final set of messages, which will go out right now.
The offer of a franchise can only be made through delivery of a franchise disclosure document. Imagine yourself being a leader in America's fastest growing demographic category. More than 10,000 people a day turn 65, and a large percentage are going to need a helping hand at home or in choosing the right assisted living community. Always Best Care is looking for people who've excelled at everything they've done, but they're seeking a new challenge. Always Best Care is one of the fastest growing companies in this explosive field. We're looking for 25 new franchisees to keep our booming business growing. We'll back you up with the strongest award-winning marketing program in the industry, and we'll provide the special training and support that's fueled our growth to prepare you for this great opportunity. All that's missing is you. Call Always Best Care toll-free at 1-800-643-7508. That's 1-800-643-7508. For Always Best Care, 1-800-643-7508. Call today.
Are you worried about losing your home to foreclosure? If you've been threatened with foreclosure or received legal papers from your bank, you have approximately 30 days to respond. If you do not respond, you could lose your home. You have rights. Act now to protect your rights. You can stay in your home. Many times you can even modify your loan. The bottom line is you can get past this, but you must act right now. Call National Foreclosure Defense right now at 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. If you've been served by your bank and you're worried about losing your home to foreclosure, now is the time to fight back and save your home. Time is limited, so call right now. 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. Call the professionals at National Foreclosure Defense right now. 800-296-3006.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us.
Okay, folks, we're into the final segment of the show, and just a quick reminder again, because we've got new listeners, talked about the email address and the contact form on the website earlier, but also remember these commercials, I don't get paid for running them, but if you have need of the services and you use the 800 number in the commercial, a small amount of money does come to help support the show. I promise you some good news, and I think to kind of close off, I've got a couple of things which I think are slightly more good news. But before I get to that, just wanted to say I forgot to. Normally at the beginning of the show, I mention where the show is being broadcast from, and very unexpectedly, this show is actually being broadcast from the Hartford area again. Regular listeners may remember I spent a few months working up here in the Hartford area, and I've just come back to tidy up some things that needed tidying up. So I'm in here for the moment, actually heading up to Canada tomorrow evening, and then coming back to Hartford after my vacation, going to be up in Kingsport next week. My car club has a big event there, and our local chapter is involved in the organization thereof. I will be doing the show, though, Tuesday evening there. But if you're in the Tri-City area, that's Kingsport, Johnson City, or Bristol, the junction there of, Tennessee, West Virginia, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or Virginia, I think it's Virginia. But if you're in that area, do come see us, especially Friday and Saturday. There'll be about 300, I think it's close to 340 classic cars at at the Meadowview in Kingsport, and lots all polished up and shiny, ranging from cars from the 20s and 30s all the way to the late 70s, and even a few Oldsmobiles up to 2004. Of course, 2004 is when the last Oldsmobile ran off the line there, but we have all ages there, and if you like looking at old cars, good place to be. It's free. You can wander around and look at all these old cars at the Meadowview. As I said, Friday and Saturday they will be there on display in all their glory. Anyway, I think it's time for the good news, and this is a story that I found about a number of years ago. A young girl was hanging out with their friends after a high school football game, and of course sometimes they get a little rowdy, and she and a friend jumped onto the top of the hood of a friend's car. Well, the driver, also fooling around a little bit, put it into reverse and reversed away, and of course she rolled off and she fell off the car and hit her head on the pavement. And her name's Taylor Hale. Well, just fairly recently she was able to walk across the graduation stage for her high school diploma. What's the good news about this? Well, actually, they say they owe it to an angel who came to her hospital bed to pray for her daughter. She hit her head on the pavement and she was put into a medically induced coma. She'd been in that for a week, and she suffered a brain hemorrhage, and that caused the doctors to think that the brain was damaged irreversibly. They didn't know very much because she was in the coma, but based on all their tests, they said it's irreversible and there's nothing we can do about it. So they had a friend of the family, someone called Jeff Stickle, came to the hospital, and he said God had told him to treat Taylor as a chiropractor, but her parents said no. Doctors have said you can't do that and she's unconscious. So he said, at the very least, just let me pray for her. They agreed to that. A little bit after that, they decided, based on the advice of the doctors, it was time to disconnect the life support machines that were keeping Taylor breathing. But what happened? She didn't stop breathing. She did not stop breathing. So they put the life support machines back on, and she started showing rapid improvement. As her parents said, it was a miracle. It was the hand of God at work. Her father said that's the only thing that can explain it. Now, the recovery has been very difficult for Taylor, who had to relearn how to walk, and she suffers from amnesia. She needed a lot of extensive tutoring to get her through high school. But she did get through high school, folks. Isn't that just absolutely fantastic? So, good news there. I had a couple of other ones, but I see the clock has run away with us again, so we'll hold that over for the Kingsport edition of the show. And I would just remind folks, again, please send me your comments and questions. As I indicated before, love to hear from you, and I will try to reply to you in the show as well as to your emails. So it looks like we're almost at the end here. The music is going to start, which means it's time to say TTFN. Folks, do come back next week, tell you about all the cars in Kingsport, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of other topics too. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the show. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's topics. Whether you listened live, to a recording, or to a rebroadcast, I appreciate the time you share with me. We need to spread the message of liberty far and wide, so please tell your friends and family about the show. Thank you for helping to keep the beacon of hope burning. This is Stefan, your Patriot Come Lately, signing off. God bless America, and remember, L3, long live liberty.